Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Эстонийн холоос ирсэн хүн орж байна. Эстонийн Цахим засаглалын академи. За энэний захирал ноён доктор Арво Ott гэж хүн оролцож байгаамаа.
Арво Ott Эстонийн Цахим засаглалын академийн гүйцэтгэх захирал. Арво Ott Таллин технологийн их сургуулийг төгссөн. Тэрээр Эстонийн мэдээллийн зөвлөлийн гишүүн, гадаад харилцаа холбооны яамны мэдээллийн системийн газрын дарга зэрэг албыг хашиж байсан. Арво Ott Эстонийн Цахим засаглалын академийн удирдах зөвлөлийн дарга бөгөөд мэдээлэл харилцаа холбооны технологийн хөтөлбөрийг хэрэгжүүлэхэд гол үүрэг гүйцэтгсэн ба Эстонийн туршлагыг гадаадын орнуудад хэрэгжүүлэхэд үнэтэй хувь нэмрээ оруулсан.
Good evening. So please tell us, is it the first time to Mongolia or?
I think I've been here 4 times.
4 times, okay.
First it was around 10 years ago.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah, it was like we have been always working with e-governance, so it was different questions on e-governance, including open data and different projects.
Okay, so this time I understand that the government has created a digital committee, kind of e-governance. So please tell us what is your mission this time?
Yes, this time is we are just a little bit studying and trying to analyze and understand the situation in Mongolia. And with agreement with Mongolian government, was just also a little bit having some meetings with different people from different organizations, and also looking this big picture of e-governance with a focus of finding out maybe some challenges, also some possibilities to go further with planning and implementation, and also just looking forward for some small action planning definitions and descriptions. So our academy is working quite often in many countries. We just have Estonian experience, but also international ones.
Your academy?
Yeah.
Okay, So, the government had created, it's called National Committee for e-governance.
Yes.
And the main purpose is to have a whole programs used by government office to be kind of one window service, so that the informations are state services are available, friendly, fast, and accessible to all citizens of the country, which is a long-time dream the government is trying to do. And for streamlining of the whole things, that's why the cabinet went to your country, met you and your people who made it possible. So how do you find the situation today? Is it possible to have that one kind of streamlined, one kind of avenue of information?
Definitely, and I think that all countries are doing it and trying to reach, and of course it's one question is it takes some time, but then what we learned during this week also that this databases and electronic data is quite often available, and the back office systems are running and working. There are some gaps maybe or something. It's always should be improved, and then it's in the bigger picture we are talking about e-governance architecture and frameworks, how to motivate people also to start to use services, and how to integrate existing systems. So it's CETA who is running the technologies. They are doing a good job, and there are many things are implemented already.
CETA is
Central Information Technology Agency, or I don't know how it's
agency, okay.
Yeah.
And there is a general registration office of Mongolia, right?
Yes, and also data center, like core systems are running and electronically implemented already. But it's always, if you look e-government, every ministry is doing something, and it's also municipalities, and the picture is really very big. And now it's, of course, one question, and maybe it's not so much about technical question, but organizational issues, that how to cooperate in all levels of government, and how to coordinate those actions. So this is, I think, that one of the tasks also this new commission, and focusing also on policy and strategy levels.
Yeah, that's why all this national committee is consisting of all the state secretaries of all ministries.
Yes, exactly.
And that's General Registration Office and some technical organizations. In general, do you find the infrastructure we have overall acceptable? Or
yes, this is what we learned. Only, of course, if you look this complex picture of e-government, and now here is the situation that you have already many things done, and back office is quite often functioning. But the main question is that people are starting more and more use technologies and services, obviously also using mobile technologies more and more. And now if the complexity in back office is growing, then it's always need to have like future vision, what will be in 3 years and what is 5 years.
Yes.
And so this is like a changing picture everywhere.
Okay, the question comes, when I was in your country, met officials, went to several state offices, education facilities, and I found out they, like in Mongolia today, each ministry has own even program. How they can get connected into one. You had one, if I may say, one avenue to which every ministry is hooked, and if there is a security issue, then this one is blocked here, and you check it. And this is the general architecture you see in Mongolia?
At the moment, those Estonian architecture and architecture here is somehow a little bit different, because in our case it has been very much decentralized because of different reasons. Here is at the moment a little bit more centralized, because you have a special network for government and you are just building a little bit different ways. But the functionalities and aims are the same. Or similar, let's say. And now, of course, in Estonian case, it has been like we started already in end of 90s. So
yes,
I started to work 1993. It took some years. We started to implement this integrated system somewhere in 2000, 2002. We got electronic ID and digital signature. So the process has been pretty long. But the main challenge, and I think that it's here also, that how to motivate people start to use widely technologies. Because the impact is coming from society, saving time of people and nature and everything. With you don't need to travel to get some services. And, and now it's like this is partly motivation about using the money, of course. You can make electronic services cheaper than physical services. From other side, it's connected with a little bit privacy issues, because like people are sometimes afraid of how government is using data. So it's like should be very careful about building this cybersecurity frameworks around and those things. But in technical sense, yes, also it's a question now. It's that how those different building blocks which have been built in already in the ministries, how they can be integrated together in a framework in a very secure way, and putting some changes in the laws if needed. For example, legal value of data and those things which are. So this is like a process. And
So. Say now you said that you are now more understanding the situation, focusing on challenges, you said that, and trying to have an action plan done, etc. How long it will take time, you think?
It's always short or just fast developments and longer term things. So we also just look of different technology development needs, and then probably some mobile technology can be developed relatively fast, or some services as well. What is missing maybe is like, let's say, strong electronic identification, the digital signature framework, which is already in some phases. There are different projects and different applications, but in Estonia, what we learned that to build like government trusted and public or private sector trusted strong electronic identification, which is basically in the form of ID cards, digital ID cards and mobile IDs now. So this was saving a lot of money for everybody.
In that terms, some countries, a telephone number or particular registration number, unique, they designed that for that person identification number, which we have, we call it national ID card. An ID card has a unique
ID number.
Digits, yes, ID numbers that you cannot repeat it. So what is the best way to follow in that terms, that ID card or telephone number? What is more practical?
I think that this ID number is like indicator you can just connect or see that this is the same person. The telephone numbers are changing, and it's like ID number is saying that it's this person. Your name may change, but this number should not. So it's ID number and then strong population registry system, which is you have already. Now it's a question how to build this electronic identification for persons using this ID number, but technically it's called public key infrastructure with digital signature infrastructure. And implementation of this infrastructure, this is like one of the key questions if you want to reach very high level of security or privacy.
We need.
Yes, and it's the same and even more important for private sector as well.
Yes.
Because people are using mobile banking much more, or just electronic banking, internet banking much more often.
In that sense, how Mongolia is ready? Is it close, or it is something that we need to completely brand new?
It's because you're already implementing in some way, but it's a model to implement. It's the main question is that how to reach situation almost all people can use it. And the question is if everybody want to use it, but it's a possibility to use it. And I think that here is a win-win situation with private sector. Right? Banks need exactly the same like government. So what we learned in Estonia also that it was joint action where banks, telecoms, private sector and government had the same aims to put it in a very strong legal basis and trustable.
How far Mongolia is to that consensus level of all private and public sectors?
I think that we had this week several meetings, and then we think that this common understanding is existing. It's now of course question how fast can be reached, like this technically common solutions, and maybe often it's the type of piloting or testing and understanding the frameworks, and obviously law is needed to be changed maybe slightly.
Yes.
And it may take more time. I would say that in technical sense you can implement those things relatively fast, but in legal sense it may take.
So it is a matter of legal issue also.
It's a matter of legal issue, but that's of course also some conceptual descriptions and understanding how it should work, because at the moment there are several in parallel, and it would be good to have, especially for small countries. You have Estonian population 1.3 million, and here you have 5 million maybe. Yes. So it means that we are still small. That's how it will be like economically reasonable to do it together.
So it's a matter of building consensus about the concept.
Yes, and then finding out. We believe it's a public-private partnership type of activity.
That's kind of happening now.
We think that yes, this is happening. We don't
so
know the details.
Not very much clear. All right. Now, say you have been mentioning compared with Estonia doing in 90s or early 2000, today mobile operation is way developed.
Yes.
And probably mobile-based support system application database is more in key. So in that sense, do we need more additional investment in that sense? Now 5G is coming. Do we need that 5G faster? And how much the telecom companies are willing to participate in that?
I'm not very sure that 5G is solving too many issues, because it's like quite often if we look at government services, they don't demand like too
5G.
high speed because the services should be built in the systems and back offices. And mobile phone is like front office or place you can access services and choose what you want. So it means
it's not a matter of speed.
Yes, and it's not too big like the demand about the speed. But of course now it's smartphones are already spread very widely, and
then here in Mongolia we have 4 operator for smartphone operators. How important are their participation in this program?
I think that there are always some like type of also agreements, because if you make a platform for services, it would be important that all the operators can use the same. And it's also about using electronic identification. When you are using your mobile phone, you need the system should know that it's yours.
That's you.
And then it's like doesn't matter what operator.
In some countries, I don't know exactly is it the case of Estonia or not. In some countries, a phone number now unique. It goes as combined with your ID, national ID, and that's why the mobile operators, they don't care now anymore which number, because today in Mongolia, particular numbers are run by particular operator. What is your take on that?
I believe that, of course, the mobile number is like when you register your ID, it should be just clear that it's your mobile. But to be too much connected to your number on mobile phone, it might be not needed. That simply that need to be legally clear that it's your mobile phone.
So in that sense, if you have, say, if I have today a phone number of one operator, which belongs to me, then can it be the same service receiving from other operators, or carrying your phone number as a...
Yes, I think the key question, of course, here is that what format or what technology for electronic identification you are using. There are in mobile technologies today is in Estonia at least it's well-known two. One is like mobile ID, which is like based on a SIM card, and then you need to change the SIM card for crypto SIM card, which enable you to generate private keys which are needed for public infrastructure. So this is one technology. New is smart ID, which these private keys are now in your mobile phone and partly in the cloud. So those in the first case, when you are changing your operator, you most probably need to change your SIM card. But the number is staying the same.
That's the whole issue. You may change SIM card, but number is not changing. That's why in Estonia, people get that SIM card from police.
Actually, we have to register it in electronic way, like saying that this private keys which I'm using and generated in my SIM cards are
you
legally.
Register that with police.
Yeah, but it's you don't need actually to go to the police. You can do it electronic service. In this case, you have to sign it with your ID card. But maybe here as a technology, this time when we started, this type of technology was not possible yet. In your case, maybe it's better better strategy to start immediately with mobile IDs without like digital ID card, which is you need card readers and everything like that.
Yeah, then it will be cheaper in that sense.
It will be cheaper, but also, of course, in this case, the process is slightly different. You have to be sure that when I got this mobile ID, then it's belonging to me, and when I'm just doing some services and legally valid, so it's just I can trust it.
So what you're saying is, without that SIM card, particular kind of card I see in Estonia, today we can have the same function without that card.
Yes, yeah, and of course, new telephones doesn't have SIM cards anymore. So this is a question.
Oh, is it?
So it's like we need some other technologies, but
well, so I bought recently iPhone 11 and still need a SIM card.
Yes, this is. But I think that it's a new developments of some mobile technologies in some new systems already. Phones are without SIM cards.
SIM card, but not Apple.
I don't know. It's like let's see in 10 years probably.
10 years.
World is changing. Maybe some new possibilities are coming.
Correct. Okay.
But there is already technology to avoid SIM card.
Okay. Now assume that everything goes and government is implementing all these things. And my last concerning is about safety of my personal data, or everybody's personal. Once government has all information about us. I mean, how we can make sure that the government official, misminded, can use that, or how does it work? Protection of my privacy.
Yeah, of course there are also that organizational, legal, and technical means. Starting from maybe technical means, that it means that your databases are safe and protected, and every time some data is exchanged between different systems, you have log files. You can prove what was happening, and every new integration of data is legally controlled or allowed. It means that every new service in the government sector is implemented. This legal correctness or legal validity is checked. So in European Union, it's a Personal Data Protection Inspectorate who is monitoring this organization.
In European Union, there is a special monitoring system.
Not in Union in itself, but it's a regulation saying that every country who are members of EU need to follow some.
That's something that this national committee should do it at the same time.
I think that yes, this is maybe one issue here for discussion and also legal question.
Yeah. The other thing, what I observed, and I listened to your colleagues in Estonia, they said. The one unique I never heard in any other countries, there was a case where, as a citizen, the government offices can check your data whenever they need. But in Estonia, at the end, at a certain period, I can go back and check who is checking my data. Tell us about that.
Yes,
I thought it's the best protection.
This is exactly this model for protecting privacy, because not all people are too much caring how data is used, but in some cases it's really sensitive. So we have two principles which are also implemented in a law, by the law, and also in technology. First is that I should have a possibility to see what data is in the government about myself. So I have access to all the databases. I can see what data they have, or government has. Second, and even more important, is that everybody should have possibility to see how others are using my data. So it means that I can look, not my neighbor, nobody else, but I can see how others are using my data in government. So I see if police is checking my data, or some data is retrieved from a population register. Yes. And now by the law I can ask it from officially.
What was many countries have this?
Not many. This is what we believe, that self-control about privacy is working well.
Yep, that's, I think it makes unique your system and the growth of public confidence in the way your data is used.
Yes, and it's like making some more order also in back office or in government sector,
Yes.
because everybody knows that in some cases I can use this data, but it should be based on a law.
Yes. So that is, I think, along with this national committee should do, and we are very much will welcome. The other question was, I was so surprised that in Estonia you don't use any more electoral boxes. There is just everything goes by phone, election, all type of.
It's like part of human rights to keep all those different possibilities open.
Okay.
So it's of course we have this polling stations and voting stations physically also. But we can use electronic internet voting. It means that you can take part from elections using your computer or mobile phone.
So, meaning that some senior people or whoever who has no smartphone can go to the polling stations and vote.
Yes.
But those who didn't want to go there and doesn't have no time, then they can do it by their phone or internet.
With internet access, yes.
And then how to make sure that that person is not, in Mongolia, for example, or politicians buy votes. We can make sure. Is it true that you can vote many times, but on the last vote is counted?
Exactly. This was one of the long discussion also in Parliament of Estonia, that if somebody is influencing your opinion, like at home or at the workplace, somebody is saying you should vote for this guy. So how to avoid this? Because in paper voting you are just in a box and
yes. Nobody knows.
And the solution was that we are using internet voting pre-election period. 1 week usually before elections you can start to vote. And you can many times vote. And last one will be valid, but if you are still not happy, you can go physically this election day to station and voting on paper.
Okay, so the system is accounting only the last, your vote, the date. I mean, obviously if you're voting day before and not voting anymore, that will be counted.
Yeah.
But if I vote just 20 minutes before the polling station closed, that is accounted. So that I don't have any influence.
It's so that in polling day you can't use anymore this internet voting, because then you don't know exactly who was voting in the internet.
Okay. So before a polling day starts, you should be finished with
internet voting. But one concern was that maybe somebody knows that you were voting for this person. And you, using the strong identity and digital signing, which is what we talked already, you can build this electronic system, voting system, very safe. So you can guarantee that nobody can put your like a person together with for who you were voting, because it's like.
So this the whole voting accounting system understands that nobody can do it for me.
Yes, there are many just measures how to avoid. Of course, at the end, of course, if you want, how to say, like if somebody is influencing you and you believe that it's good influence, you can do it.
Yes. So, for how many years this voting happens in Estonia?
We started, I think, in 2005. Now it's after that in all different elections, like parliament elections, municipal elections. We are just also doing European Parliament elections. So all those are electronic. But we saw that it's like it's the interest or just people who are trusting it is growing. In the beginning it was low. Now it was already. From all the voters they took part from elections, it's close to 50%
voters use that
in this last European Parliament elections.
Oh, okay.
But it's not compulsory in Estonia to take part from elections, so it's not all people are voting.
Yeah, very democratic. Oh, okay. So the politicians should not be very much like this idea.
I can say that it depends on now in Estonia it was like in some political parties they were a little bit more slow because maybe their voters are older, maybe they are not so active.
Okay.
In some parties it was very much supported. We had permanent discussion, and I think that the security should be also developed all the time. It's not new features, new situations are coming. What is good that now those people who are traveling, or young people, or
yes.
sometimes weather is bad.
Yes,
you can just
expatriates also.
Yes, and you can engage much more people in a democratic process.
So Estonians living abroad can do it on the internet with their own identity.
You need internet access.
If there was any complaints about irregularities of voting system and complaining of the cheating and
very few cases where actually we didn't have any serious problems. Because always something like your screen is too small just to see all the picture and it's a technique.
Okay, final question. How long this project will continue with your support with e-governance Academy of Estonia in Mongolia?
I think that it's like a relative short project now. It's 6 months or maximum a year.
Okay.
But the e-governance is continuous issue.
It's something that we cannot avoid.
Yeah, indeed, it's going forever. So we'll be happy to continue our cooperation.
With the e-governance, with this so sophisticated, very much accepted system of governance in Estonia, have you managed to decrease public officers' amount working in offices?
In some fields, yes. And but in most cases, work is much more efficient.
Yes,
governments based on correct information can make much better decisions.
Mr. Ott, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. And I wish your joint project all possible success.
Thank you.
Thank you. За хүн төлөвчтэй өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор энэ Монголын засгийн газар юм үндэсний ингэж байгаа юм. Цахим хөгжлийн үндэсний хороо байгуулсан. Тэгээд энэ Эстонийн энэ ажлыг аль хэдийн хийцэн хүмүүстэй ажиллаж байгаа. Энэ ажлыг Эстонд тэргүүлсэн Эстонийн Цахим засаглалын академи гэж байдаг. Түүний тэргүүн захирал ноён доктор Арво Ott оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.